Well, good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Whichever version you appreciate, good morning. I hope you are well. My name is Amma. Amma from Ghana. I like to call myself the Black Panther because, as you can see, it's from my skin color. I am a black activist. I am an African activist. I am a champion for all matters African. One of the things that I really love to champion is our beautiful, beautiful complexion, our wonderful skin color, melanin goddess and gods we are. It's important that we appreciate our worth, that we carry ourselves knowing our worth. And when we do that, other people have no other alternative than to respect us for who we are and to acknowledge the phenomenal human beings we really are. That is not what I want to talk about this morning. So a lot of you were in touch from Big Scouts platforms and a few other places, wanting me to translate what I did for my people yesterday in our local language into English. And that's what I'm going to attempt to do in 15 minutes. Okay. Obviously, when you speak in English, the flow is restricted, so pardon, forgive me, but there's nothing else I can do. I don't speak any other West African languages, no other languages. When I speak in my language, it is ring fencing I have been accused of, so here we go. Let me break it down simply. Yesterday, I was talking to people about security in the future. I have used many examples in the past. In Ghana, there's a lot of actors and actresses, people who are very well known, who die in abject poverty. There's a lot of people who are very good public servants and they retire into poverty. There's a lot of Ghanaians who have lived abroad for decades, eons, and retire into poverty. There's a lot of Ghanaians who've held public office, Ghanaians who've held who've been in private business, people who have been employed, people who have been self-employed. And the pattern is that when we retire, very few people are comfortable. Very few of us are comfortable. And the truth, the reality of it comes from the way we comport ourselves whilst we're working. The African is so eager to invest in the immediate. We like to live in the flashiest of houses. We want to drive the latest cars, hold the biggest phones, have functions that we don't even know how to use. We like to wear designer clothes, and that is not wrong in itself. That in itself is not wrong if you've put your house in order first. And that is what I want to talk to you about, yes. Please, please, my brothers and sisters, I have to be blunt. I have to be down, straight down the middle and tell you things exactly as they are. My brother, my sister. You need to sit down and have a very careful look at what your future outlook is before you make your next purchase. The next time you want to buy the next version or an update of whatever you have, I am begging you in whoever's name you respect, to pause for 1 minute, to reflect on your future before you make that purchase. If you make this purchase, is this purchase being made at the expense of your future security? Do you have a pension? Or are you also like most Ghanaians in the West waiting for state pensions to kick in? Let me tell you the reality of it. So a couple of years ago, I got a letter, and the letter says, Amma, if you continue paying the way you are paying, by the time you retire at 65, and I don't intend to be in a classroom till 65, I haven't got the tenacity to stay till 65. I think I'll be doing children a disservice if I stay in the classroom beyond 55, because I wouldn't have the energy to be able to perform the way I like to perform, but that's another story. But it says to me, if I continue doing what I'm doing, when I retire, I can expect state pensions to be approximately £96 per week. I have to confess, that was a shock to my system. I sat down and I thought, okay, let's round it up to £100 a week. That means that when I retire, having served for over 35 years and contributed meaningfully into the economy, I can expect to live on £400 a month. And then my husband and I started doing the math. Okay, you are a man. They probably, let's round it up. I get 400, you get 400. That's 800 quid a month. Our current home is on rent for more than 800 quid. So if we haven't put things in order and we don't own our home, we will have to move out of this property because we simply can't afford to live here. the kind of property we would end up living in, and this is the stark reality of it, I want to paint it exactly as it is. You know those houses in the commercial areas, the ones which are on top of takeaways, the ones on top of restaurants, the ones where you have public spaces underneath. Yes, those are the sort of accommodation my husband and I could afford to live in for around about £300 a month. That's what we worked out in Manchester. Those of you who live in bigger cities, you know it's going to be more expensive. Okay. So we sat down and we looked at electricity and water, and we thought, you know what, if we're really frivolous, we might be able to spend another 100 quid on electricity and water. Okay. Another 100 quid, 120 quid-ish, depending on where you live, on council tax. We are already crossing over 500 out of the 8 that we had. My mobile phone, his mobile phone, and the landline is another 100. We've crossed 600. My husband likes to watch football, so we might have a Sky subscription or something like that, because really, if we are retired, we need to be doing things we enjoy. We cannot be in the house and not have things to do, so we add the Sky subscriptions. And I'm thinking Netflix. Would I be able to afford? We've not started eating. We are approaching 700 quid. Do you think my husband and I would be able to feed ourselves for a month for 100 quid? Absolutely not. So when we sat down and we broke this down for ourselves, the reality hit. I mean, I'm a teacher. I'm expecting a teacher's pension. He also has his own private pension. But we sat down when that document arrived and we realized, you know what? We have lived a certain lifestyle for quite a while. We've worked really hard. And when we retire, we would like to maintain this lifestyle. And if we intend to maintain this lifestyle, the stark reality was that we needed to look at other investments. Now, let me throw a word of caution here. Be very careful, my brothers, be very careful, my sisters, about these Ponzi schemes going around the African communities, because we are greedy. We are greedy. We like to reap where we've not sown. We like quick turnaround, 50% investment in 2 months, 100% return in 3 months. And a lot of those things that promise you those high interest are high risk. They are very high risk. Majority of them are Ponzi schemes. They take your money, they use it to pay the people before you. And if you are lucky and other people come after you, they take their money, they pay you with it. If you are unlucky, your money is stuck. And there are many, many, many of them in the African community. I am not going to bore you. I'm not going to waste your time going through them. Let me break things down. A car is not a sensible investment, my brothers, my sisters. A car is not a safe investment. A car is a frivolous investment because when you hit the road, you never know what's going to happen to you and your car. The minute you drive your car out of the showroom, you have a 5-10% depreciation from the minute you drive. So you take the car, you drive out of the showroom, you come back to the same showroom and you want to return the car. My dear, you've already done about 5% down, sometimes 10% down, depending on the country you are in and the type of car it was. Every year you are expecting between 10 and 15% depreciation of the value of your car. That is assuming everything ticks the way it's supposed to tick. And if you've ever maintained a car, if you've ever driven a car, you know they don't tick and don't behave the way you want to. You might be the best driver on the road, good for you. You don't control who's behind you. Anybody could be behind you and anybody could ram into your future investments any second of the day. Is that a safe investment? Absolutely not. We need to be looking at other things to invest our money in. You also have to be very careful at this point of those investment schemes which ask you to pay a certain amount for the next 10, 15 years and will pay out a value at a particular time. Check the small print. Check that the value which you are going to earn is exactly what you put in, or even better, that it's going to yield some interest for you because the money is going to sit in a management fund and it's going to be used to invest. And you should be getting some returns from those investments, but be careful. There's many of them, some from Friends Provident, some from MetLife, some from the big players in the industry which will lock your money in, will pay very little. And if you make the cardinal mistake of wanting to cash out before 25 years, you will end up with astronomical waivers. Watch those things before you put your money in. People keep asking, so what is a safe way to invest? My dear, if you are African, like us, our economies need us. Our economies need our money. Our economies need injection. The kind of money you will make doing business in Africa, of course, it is high risk, but the sort of returns you can get from Africa if you do due diligence are phenomenal in comparison to anywhere else. Yes. In Ghana, we have something from the Bank of Ghana called treasury bills. I don't know if you guys have the same thing, treasury bonds. You put your money in, you buy one of them, you keep it for 3 months, and you can redeem it after 3 months, or you can roll it over. There are some which are 6 months, 10 years. There are some which are 12 months. Obviously, if you take the longer term ones, the rates are higher. And it allows government and it allows businesses to access your funds and to use your funds for business and to pay you a dividend or an interest at the end of the stipulated period. It tends to be one of the safest things to do. It is a very responsible thing to do because our economies need cash injection. If most Africans who live abroad will put our money into schemes like that, our governments will have no need to go to China, cup in hand, begging. It will not be necessary for Chinese people to come take over our airports because we've not been able to service the loan. We would not be risking our rivers and our lakes for illegal mining because we've brought the Chinese in for cash injection. I would not go too far into this particular topic because it's an emotive topic for me. It is something which is a bugbear for me. I will leave it where it is right now. All I'm saying is that if you want to invest and you want to secure your future, please, in God's name, look into the scheme before you tie your money. Check the scheme, look at the ratings, read the fine print, and make sure that you are going to get what you put in, or better. Please check that your investments are not in clothing. There was a Ghanaian, very respected Ghanaian guy who lived in the UK, well, still lives there now in retirement for a long time. This guy sent me a series of pieces of advice to give his African brothers and sisters. And he says, 1, thou shalt buy your council flat when it is offered to you. And those who buy their council flat when it is offered to you is a very safe investment because brick and mortar tends to be one of the safest investments to have. Yes, especially when your documents are regularized and you have long-term longevity of stay in the place, brick and mortar is a good way to invest. Brick and mortar in Africa could be a good way to invest depending on what it is you are after. If you are looking to buy a house and you're not looking to get quick turnaround with rents, then yeah, brick and mortar in Africa could be very lucrative for you. It will appreciate, you will get baby rent, not loads of it, but you can always sell it at phenomenal increases 5-6 years down the drain. I clearly remember the first time we bought our house in Ghana. It was the equivalent of £16,000. A couple of years ago, we bought something else in Ghana, and we bought it at $68,000. The first one was a 3-bedroom house in a new development, loads of space, 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, kitchen plus dining area plus living room, outside space, phenomenal, and we bought it for £16,000. Down the line, we are looking at 68,000, almost 70,000 if you add the other charges and whatnot. 7,000, slightly over 70,000 with the registrations and whatnot. And it was for a smallish 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, small kitchen, little outside space in Ghana. So out of interest, I asked somebody for the value of the 16,000 purchase we did. And the value they gave me nearly made me faint. Yes. Oh, yes. I realized that is my pension pot right there. When we get to a place where we need money for pensions, we need to survive, that house is going on the market. And when that house goes on the market, there is a lot to redeem and there's a lot to use to live. Yeah, brick and mortar is a good way to invest. The second best thing to do may be contentious because some people actually think it's the first thing to do is investments here. Investments into knowledge, investments into understanding, investments into your brain so you discern and you understand and you comprehend better. When you discern and you understand and you comprehend better, you make better choices for yourself, you make better deals, your mistakes are less expensive. Yes, because when you are ignorant, you are fodder for the wolves. Absolutely. Okay. The other thing to do, which is a safe investment, is investments into your children, into your children's education, into your children's standing. When your children become independent and don't need to come borrow from you, you are a happy bunny. The little you get, your £400, might be able to stretch just for you and your husband if you are not sharing with any other dependents. Investing in your loved ones, into the people who might end up parasiting off your pension, is a very good strategy whilst you're working. I will go through quite a few of them. I did not intend for this video to be more than 15 minutes. We're already on 16 minutes. So I'm going to pause on this one. It was just an introduction to my financial literacy series. I will do a lot of it because it sounds like we need a lot of education in this area in our communities. Share the video, subscribe to the channel. It's First Pick Tours with Amma Manson. First Pick Tours with Amma Manson. Subscribe, and invite other people to join us. Share it to your networks, put it on your Facebook and WhatsApp groups. Tell people there's a crazy African woman who wants to talk future investments. There's an African woman who wants to help you secure your future so we don't become deprived beggars when we go on pension after a lifetime of work. Thank you very much for your patience. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you especially for sharing. Ma salama. See you soon.